Story 1. This might be weird, but I still think Super Mario World is one of the greatest games of all time. People accustomed to the Nintendo Entertainment System had never really seen a generation leap before, and it was amazing how advanced it seemed at the time. But even though nowadays it is actually quite primitive, it is still really fun. The levels, the controls, the music, it all just works, and it holds up even today. Like most Mario games, you can really tell that Nintendo put in the extra time to polish it and make it something people would actually want to play. Super Mario World was blatantly written as a tech demo of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, but somehow Nintendo managed to make even that a good thing. Most Nintendo Entertainment System games just got harder and harder until you gave up. Just making a game you could actually finish was actually pretty unusual back then. Story 2. Cyberpunk 2077. Genuinely the best story game I have ever played. The main story and the side quests are all extremely well written and of equal excellent quality, and are all a bunch of emotional roller coasters. Best sound design in any game I've played. Extremely detailed world and lore as it is part of a much older franchise. There are so many features and details that it's almost insane. All in all, like other CD Projekt Red games, you can truly sense the love for the game and world and the hard work that's been put into it. Do you know when a game genuinely feels like a piece of art? Because of its launch, it has a terrible reputation with few people actually realizing that all these bugs were fixed a couple of years ago in the 2.0 update. Since then, a massive downloadable content, basically adding a whole new part of the main story, doubling its length and adding a whole new area to the city and a bunch more, has been added, plus a lot of other features. It has literally undergone several major updates. All the things that used to be the reason people didn't buy it have been fixed and compensated for comfortably. You can even use that cool monorail tram now. 10 out of 10 if it weren't for the unfortunate launch, this game would have been remembered as revolutionary. Story 3. Fallout 3 will always be my best memory of first playing a video game. I really enjoyed the storyline, felt a real sense of dread exploring some areas, and the map felt so expansive. I tried Fallout New Vegas, and it just didn't hit the same spot. Story 4. Warcraft 3. That is why I am so frustrated with Reforged. You can't even play the pre-reforged version without the original discs or unethical means. Even if you do get the original game, Battle.net is so broken with it because of their terms of service that custom games were killed off. Just to be clear for the younger audience, Warcraft 3 is the reason you have MOBAs like Dota and the popularization of tower defense games, and I am sure there are others. The map editor that came with the game was a powerful game-creating tool. Story 5. RuneScape 2005 to 2006. Without a doubt, the greatest game ever made. My perseverance, determination, and mental fortitude as a business owner today were forged in the U fields south of Sears Village on my way to achieving level 99 in woodcutting. My stubbornness on price came from hard lessons learned trading in World 2. And I'll always be 2 steps ahead of scammers thanks to the free armor trimmers of Falador. Story 6. Prey 2017 by Arcane Studios never received much attention, as it was released around the same time as the movie Prey, and the advertising for it was poor. Despite this, the game is still incredible. It is a hidden gem. Story 7. What Remains of Edith Finch. It's an indie game. My uncle showed me that game. The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. My first game of Zelda that made me fall in love with The Legend of Zelda. Story 8. RuneScape had me engaged for a decade, but I believe I was most captivated by Atelier Iris. Grand Phantasm. I would spend 8 hours on PlayStation 2 after school, with no clue how I managed to finish school. Quite funny, I don't even find anime interesting now. Story 9. World of Warcraft, when it first released, was literally like living another separate life as a 12-year-old kid. Nothing will ever top that feeling of adventure. Story 10. It is hard to pick a single best game, but I could certainly pick the best of each genre of game. For a pick-up-and-play shooter, Halo, it will always be replayable to me. I will never grow out of pretending to be the Master Chief. For something relaxing and creative, Space Engineers. It's like Minecraft, but in space. Cool physics, too. For a role-playing game, Diablo 2 Remastered for sure. Always something to grind for, or a tougher boss to fight. open world/survival Fallout. The world they have built for those games is awesome, hilarious, and disturbing all at once. Story 11. I will add a little bit indie. Sanabi, Katana Zero. Sea of Stars is also good but can be boring a little bit in the middle of the game. Hades, Dead Cells, and Terraria. Story 12. I still hold a special place for the original Halo. It's the only game I ever beat on all levels, including Legendary. Took me quite some time, over a year, but I played that game until my fingers bled. Story 13. Best Story. The Last of Us 1 and 2. Best Background Music. Mega Man 2. Believe me when I tell you, it still slaps. Best Multiplayer. Super Smash Bros. Melee. Best Fighting Game. Street Fighter 3, Third Strike. Honorable mention to Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Best Simulation Game. Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2. Story 14. I was absolutely blown away by Cyberpunk 2077. It really got a lot of hate for the initial launch, but the story and exploration in the game were, by far, some of the best I've seen. The concept was eagerly anticipated, and it getting so much better and more in-depth after the patches and downloadable content edition makes it my favorite game of all time. Story 15. I believe everyone should play Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. It is a first-person sword and magic action game with role-playing game elements. The story is somewhat lackluster, but the gameplay is exceptionally good. The game features multiple endings, with demons, knights, dragons, trolls, giant spiders, and more. You can also cast a freeze spell on the floor, causing enemies to slip on the ice. I think I need to replay it again. Story 16. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. While it may not be the best game objectively, I played it all the time with the other neighborhood kids every weekend during the school year and every night during the summer. It brings me good memories that I look back upon. Story 17. Super Mario Galaxy 2. If it weren't for the nostalgia bias, I'd still think it's a beautiful game and one I could replay for thousands of hours and never get sick of. Even though the gameplay is rarely difficult and it lacks the storyline of the first game, something about it always makes me feel warm inside. Story 18. In terms of dialogue and storytelling, the first BioShock installment was one of my favorite video games of all time. The voice acting was incredible as well. I am well into my 30s now, 33, but still remember being in absolute awe as a teenager when the game was released in 2007. Story 19. For me, it's Cabal Online. It's the first MMO I have ever played, and it has been stuck with me ever since. It might not compare visually or animation-wise with today's MMOs, but to me, it's the most beautiful sight ever. Story 20. Nintendo Switch user here. I am here to say that I have that one game, I don't remember how it was called, where it had Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. I enjoyed playing Super Mario 64, mostly for the main screen, and I remember always playing that when I got home from school. Now I sit here and remember about that memory. My console is broken. Story 21. Elden Ring for me. I've loved the Souls games since I played Dark Souls 1 in 2011, and I have loved the high fantasy genre as a whole since I was a kid, seeing The Lord of the Rings in theaters. Elden Ring just fully captures an indescribable feeling of curiosity and wonder in the exploration of a high fantasy world, and is the culmination of my favorite game series of all time. Sometimes, I wonder if I will ever in my life play a better game than the experience I got on the first playthrough of that game. Story 22. There are a few games I really enjoyed playing, not that they were the best I have ever played, but I put a ton of time into them. Here is my list. Oddworld, the whole series, Halo franchise, Boo German, Intelligent Cube on PlayStation 1, Call of Duty franchise, specifically DMZ, which is part of Modern Warfare 2, Original Legend of Zelda. A weird one called Spin Dizzy was one that took some time to learn but became super fun. Viva Pinata. If I had to pick a game that I could play repeatedly though, like even after I have beaten it, it would be BioShock and BioShock Infinite. I played them both through completely 3 or 4 times. Just my thoughts. Story 23. I do not know if it is the best, but for sure it is in my top 5 favorites, Infamous Second Son. I saved up for a whole year to be able to buy a PS4 and the game, the whole reason I bought a PS4 in the first place. I played it beginning to end probably 6 to 8 times. Story 24. I do not know what it was called, but it was a Lego game and you had to choose a character, then a vehicle, and design it before driving. Simple but cool. Story 25. I want to say Sonic 2 is so much better than the original. It had a huge variety in levels and their settings, 2-player split screen, and the bonus stages. At the time, these were revolutionary to me. Big, bold graphics made it look like an arcade game. It offers cooperative gameplay, and I am still finding new areas to this day when I play it. The only improvement is Sonic 2 and Knuckles. I still think Knuckles' moveset is the best addition to the series. Story 26. Half-Life 2. It's the reason I got my first job, so I could save up enough cash to get my cousin to build me a PC that was good enough to play it. I still remember how blown away I was and thinking, this was totally worth it. The graphics, the physics, the feeling of being part of a living world. It blew my mind as a 15-year-old. I played the first Half-Life and loved that, but Half-Life 2 was something extraordinary. My girlfriend doesn't play games, but I'm trying to introduce her to some in the hopes that she would want to play my favorite game one day. Story 27. Minecraft. A million games in one. Currently, I'm invested in massively multiplayer online role-playing game Minecraft, a server called Winecraft. I lack sleep because it is so good. A month ago, I was building fully automatic factory lines and managing electricity and those sorts of things. It was also in Minecraft. Story 28. It's so difficult to pick just one. Witcher 3 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey come to mind quickly. But Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and also older stuff such as Skyrim, Super Mario Galaxy, or Super Metroid could easily deserve that spot as well. Story 29. This ended up longer than I suspected, and most are out of nostalgic reasons, but Game Boy, Legend of Zelda Tetris. Game Boy Color, Legend of Zelda Ages and Seasons. Sega, Mickey Mouse World of Illusion or Echo. SNES, Super Mario Land with an honorable mention for Duck Hunt. PlayStation 1, Tekken 3, Medieval, Final Fantasy VII. PlayStation 2, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Dark Souls, Shadow of the Colossus, Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts. PlayStation 3, Oblivion. PlayStation 4, Red Dead Redemption 2. PC, Age of Empires 2. Story 30. Final Fantasy X, when it first came out, was my gateway to the Final Fantasy world, and I played it intensely. Recently, I would say the Final Fantasy VII Remake, as once again, it is so expansive. Story 31. In recent times, Ratchet & Clank on PlayStation 2 fulfilled all my action platformer expectations, and Gloomwood on PC had me obsessed. Can't wait for full release. Story 32. In what regard? Best story? Least amount of bugs? Best graphics? Most fun? It's like asking what is the best car or the best fruit. Your question seems incomplete to me, but to give you an answer at least, I think Factorio manages to best achieve what it set out to be out of all the games I have played. Story 33. It's a really hard question because I think you can only speak about your best gaming experience. That was at a particular time for you and for gaming in general. I loved Deus Ex: Human Revolution when it came out. It's still solid, but playing it now doesn't elicit the same kind of experience. Story 34. Yoshi Island Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Donkey Kong 1 Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Top Gear 1 Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Gran Turismo 2 PlayStation 1. Gran Turismo Sport PlayStation 4. Medal of Honor Spearhead Online Personal Computer. Max Payne 1 and 2 Personal Computer. Red Dead Redemption 2 Personal Computer. Story 35. Halo Combat Evolved. The campaign is phenomenal, especially considering the limitations of the hardware at the time. It is surprisingly detailed, challenging without being oppressive, and perfectly fits the grim, dark theme that humanity finds itself in that universe. The multiplayer introduced a legendary map and probably one of the greatest split-screen experiences of all time. Story 36. Definitely the Half-Life series. Been with me since childhood, and the Source engine will always hold a special place in my heart. I also like to mess around in the Hammer editor. Gary's mod. I remember the first time I found out about it. The idea that I could get creative with all my favorite Source models, characters, NPCs, just amazing, plus the endless community workshop maps and items. But yeah, Half-Life 2 takes the cake. In recent years, I loved Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. The idea of your skill improving in the difficult combat without having to grind for gear or attributes is something I love. Great atmosphere, tough journey, but so worth it. Minecraft, not a joke, been with it since beta, and man, once my friend and I found out about the mod packs like Tekkit, my goodness, those were the days. My last great memory is playing the newer mod packs like MC Eternal or Sevtech Ages. Vanilla Minecraft in today's form I don't find appealing at all. Doom, always a special memory, going through the levels with IDDQD and IDKFA, hahaha, and I remember being amazed by the level's diversity and clever designs. I'm glad we have games such as Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal now. Crysis so ahead of its time, I boot it up every now and then, and I still consider the graphics to be amazing. My favorite playstyle was being up close and personal, throwing soldiers into the huts and watching them collapse upon them. Call of Duty Modern Warfare series from 2007 to 2011 for the campaign story only. Terraria, a good 2D alternative to Minecraft, at least that's what we called it, I think. There was so much to explore, create, and slay in this blocky world. I never got to finish it and fight the Moon Lord and stuff, but I enjoyed most of the content properly. Batman. Arkham series made me love Batman for this badass series with a great story and new form of combat. Let's throw Middle-earth, Shadow of War in here too, for it's by the same developers. World of Warcraft. Never grinded it too much, never even got to experience a proper raid, never liked PvP, I just enjoyed getting to max level with my friend and finding out about the world. The furthest I've gotten was Wrath of the Lich King heroic gear from the endgame dungeons. I liked meeting all the NPCs and exploring the world. Some people were so nice too. Oh, the endless replayability of Skyrim. No need for more words. Yeah, that's what I can think of off the top of my head.